Good day. I'm Dr. Roy Blizzard, and I'm seated here in my home in Joplin, Missouri, with a very good friend, longtime friend, Stuart Diesel Reynolds. And I'm looking at a book that Stuart wrote that I want to recommend to all of you who are out there listening to the program today. A book entitled Created in His Image. And Stuart, I'm sure, will not mind if I tell you that this book is based upon a lot of information that I shared with him several years ago, and he has taken it and made it into what I believe is a must-read for you. Actually, I wrote on the back of this book for you a little introduction to the book that I would like to take the time just to read to our audience here. The professor, that's me, always hopes that the student not only gets it, but is capable of communicating it to his audience as well. Stuart Diesel Reynolds has certainly demonstrated that he gets it, and that he knows how to pass it on to you. And as far as I'm concerned, this book, Created in His Image, is a must-read for every serious student of the Bible who is both interested and able to think outside the box. Again, created in His image. And Stuart, I rate this book personally 5 stars, and I want to congratulate you on the effort that went into writing that book, which I believe is one of the must-reads for those in our audience today.
Well, thank you, Dr. Blizzard, but none of this would be possible if it weren't for your input in my life. And the book records for posterity some of the teachings and some of the information that Dr. Blizzard has shared with me. For example, we start off by talking about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Now, a lot of people who are taught from Sunday school level about the creation of man still have this picture of a man and a woman running naked through the Garden of Eden, and that God created this man and this woman, and their names were called Adam and Eve. But you taught me different, didn't you? So why don't you share some of that with the viewers today?
Well, let me start by sharing something else with our listeners. This is a book entitled Onkelos on the Torah. And it is one of the most valuable books that I have in my library. Actually, it's just one of 5. Because this is a translation of the biblical text into Aramaic that is still used in Rabbinic Judaism until today. And this book, as you can see, I have it opened here, was written by 2 very well-known Israeli or Hebrew scholars, both rabbis, Rabbi Israel Drazen and Rabbi Clarence Wagner. And you have here the Hebrew text, the basic Hebrew text. Then you have the Aramaic translation. Then you have translation of the Aramaic, showing the differences from the Hebrew to the Aramaic. Then you have a commentary. Then you have Rashi's commentary, who was also a very, very well-known, famous rabbinic scholar. And then you have statements such as this one that I wish to make. Before I make that statement, I want to preface it with this for those of you who are watching us and listening to this program today. With this statement, you have to keep in mind that this Bible that we have before us, this biblical text, was not written in English or in any of the other many languages, over 3,000 languages into which it has been translated today, but it is a Hebrew book. It was written in Hebrew and only later was it translated. And so, as difficult a burden as it places upon us, and I know that it does, if you want to know what this document actually says, you have to know the Hebrew, or you have to be able to work with the Hebrew text. And it's not all that difficult to do, and I can tell you quite easily how you can do it, but you have to know that this is a Hebrew text, and the Hebrew text does not say the same thing that the English text says. And I'm going to quote now from these rabbis who have written this book for us. They say, would we be considered irreverent? This is on page number 15. Would we be considered irreverent if we suggested that the entire biblical story of the creation of humankind and their sin in the Garden of Eden is an allegory? That is a story that reveals a truth which is embedded in the text, which need not be taken literally. Could Adam and Eve be humankind? The Garden of Eden, the world as it could be if we only hearken to God's commands. The snake, the variety of temptations in life which draws away from serving God. And the sin of Adam and Eve, the choices we have the power to make, and the punishment and inevitable consequence of sin. Now, why would they say such a thing? For the simple reason that when you read the Hebrew text in Genesis chapter 1, it says, and God created Adam. And that word, Adam, is a Hebrew word that in this context it simply refers to mankind. It's not talking about that God created a man that looks like we do and called his name Adam. It means that he created something that he called Adam. And in order to understand more about the meaning of that word, you have to know something about the nature of the Hebrew language itself. And you have to know that in that passage, and that passage is in Genesis chapter 1, let's have a look at it and see just exactly what it does say. It says, in verse 27, and the Lord created Adam.
Adam.
Vayivra Elohim, in verse 27. Et ha'adam b'tzalmo b'tzelem Elohim bara oto. And here's something that's often missed. Zachar u'nekeva bara otam. What's that say, Stuart?
Well, you're going to have to help me out there.
Male and female created he them. And if you go to Genesis chapter 5, from here, just go directly to chapter 5, in verse 1, just to show you something here very quickly. Chapter 5. It says, Bra'am v'yivarech otam v'yikra et shmam Adam. B'yom hibar'am. It says that this is the book, starting with verse 1, of the generations of Adam in the day that God created Adam b'dmut Elohim, in the image of God, Asa oto, Zachar u'nekeva, male and female, Bra'am, v'yivarech otam, v'yikra et shmam, Adam. He created them, male and female, and called their name Adam. So that the name of mankind was Adam. And it referred both to the male and to the female. So it's not as if God is creating someone who looks like us. Here's Adam here, and here's Eve over here, and now we have Adam and Eve out streaking through the Garden of Eden. That's not what is implied in the Hebrew text.